listening to SuperPower Mommas on the SuperPower Up podcast, the show that embraces the art of soulful parenting.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to SuperPower Mommas, and I'm Laura Greco, your host, and I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about learning self-love through motherhood. And I have with me Angela Swartz, who is a mom, a writer, and an English tutor. After graduating from Vermont College of Fine Arts, Angela wrote for newspapers and trade publications. But creative writing is her passion and has been featured in literary journals and online magazines. Her 2-year-old son keeps her very busy and also helps to keep her material fresh. Where Angela writes about motherhood on her blog site, which you got to check out. It's called mommascoffeeiscold.com. She most recently has been exploring the mandatory requirements that comes with motherhood. And that includes self-care, forgiveness, and kindness towards herself and others. So I'm very excited to be speaking with you about learning self-love through motherhood. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Hi, thank you so much. It's so awesome to be on your show, Laura.
Oh, I'm really pleased that you're here. You have, I got to meet you through a mutual friend, I'll just tell everyone, and really was delighted to have a conversation with you. And I especially loved going through your blog site and reading your clips in there about different things that go on while you're navigating momhood. That's really exciting. So we'll start off the show, of course, with our usual question, which is, what is your super mama power?
Okay, so I thought a lot about this. I think my superpower is being able to put meaning into everyday occurrences and then being able to put them into words. So a lot of the time, actually I just wrote about this on my blog, a lot of the times I'll go to this farm with my son when I'm feeling completely overwhelmed or just not myself, just off. And I find when I go there, I find like I'm able to come out of my mind a little bit because other things are happening still. I can see like the cows need to be fed, other mothers are sitting there eating ice cream. There's like other things outside of my head going on there. Yeah. And it's really helpful just to look around and be like, oh, that's right. I don't have to live in there all the time. I can go and see other things and find peace in the very small things that are still going on. And to find, and like while I'm there, I get to pick up different things I'm looking at and just slow down. And then my creative mind starts to pick up other things that I can write about while I'm doing those other things.
That's really beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because I see this as, first of all, we have gotten so busy in life with so many things that we take in from the phones, the television, the internet, computer, right? Mm-hmm. And all of this outside stimulation is so much more than, centuries ago. And yet it's going back to nature, going back to the real things, like where we get our food, like the earth. But then you're taking it a step further because you're not just viewing it, but you're also assimilating it and creating an awareness for the rest of us. Love that.
Thank you. It's amazing how much information we all gather every single day, every hour. You just keep reading things and keep collecting things in your head, and it just sometimes I need like a brain dump, like you just leave it all somewhere and dump it onto the page, or just get rid of some of that extra information we all take in all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you see this superpower that you have, this beautiful creative ability to not only see what you see, but also write about it? How does that help you, for example, as a mom of a little 2-year-old, a busy little guy, right?
Oh yeah. It helps me. Writing in particular helps me slow down. I mean, there are good days and there are bad days of writing, but if I keep up the habit, it helps a lot. And it helps me remember who I am first. Like I'm a mother, like all the time, of course, but I have to remember who I am also as a person, and that helps me kind of remove myself a little bit and take the time I need to I guess to process what's happened that week or that day, or and just to help me gather myself again. Which in turn helps my son, because if I'm not me, he doesn't get like the good version of myself. So it's a good break to take for myself also, so I can help him too.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say that mom's taking space for herself is not a luxury. It's actually a mandatory part of the work that you're doing as a mother.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love that you also share this, that, taking that space, what I tell moms I work with, and help them to come to appreciate that you're really a person first. And then you wear hats, you're a daughter, you're a wife, you're a mom, maybe you're tutoring also, right? So, and you write, all those things are a result of you being you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So if that core is missing, if you've lost that awareness, you can't really show up in any of your other jobs.
Absolutely.
Right? Being fully you. So that's beautiful. Very beautiful. So let me ask you now, you are working a bit as well as blogging and raising a 2-year-old.
Yes.
How are you doing with your time? And self-care and like how are you doing with all that?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
I recently learned this amazing thing, which is to ask for help.
Good thinking.
And it's hard to do because
yes.
I don't like doing that. It means being vulnerable and admitting that I can't do everything by myself, and nor do I have to.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't have to control everything, and it helps my son too. I don't need to be the sole face he sees every second. But yeah, it means asking my husband for this writing time. It means stepping away for a second, if only for a minute. Sometimes it even means leaning on like Dora and Daniel Tiger to help me out on the television for 10 minutes, like so I could, I just sit for a second, or back away, and if I'm getting overwhelmed. And yeah, time management has been something I'm still learning. I'm a rookie in this game still, but I'm definitely learning how to make sure time works for me instead of me running around being nuts.
Yeah. And all of that you do reveal in the blogs that you write, and I love it. Remember, I was telling you before we got on the recording how, you're writing about real serious, challenges, and yet you are able to also convey we're doing this, and, there's more to the story than just the challenge.
Right.
And I love that. So tell everyone where they can find you, and then we're going to take a quick break.
Sure. My blog is called momscoffeeiscold.com. And I have the same name on my Facebook page also.
So easy to find you. That is so great. We've been talking with Angela Swartz on the topic of learning self-love through motherhood. And we'll be right back. You're listening to SuperPower Mommas.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The SuperPower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the SuperPower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to SuperPower Mommas, and I'm Laura Greco, your host, and we're talking with Angela Swartz on the topic of learning self-love through motherhood. And when we think about that self-love through motherhood, so do you see an expansion for you previous to being a mom? And let me just ask you that question right there.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, yes. Not that I was incomplete before, because I don't like to think of people being complete after they have kids. Because that's not a mandatory requirement in person.
No, it's more of an expansion, right?
Right. I've learned a lot about myself. Yes, and I've learned kind of what I'm made of. Really, I have more patience.
Mm-hmm.
I have more love to give than I thought. And but I mean, there's also things that I have found out that I don't want to be like mean to myself. There's also things I've learned that I could improve on, like the control thing. It's hard to be. I'm mostly stay-at-home mom. I work 2 days a week, but I'm mostly at home with my son, and I'm in charge most of the time. And when I'm not, I can feel myself being like, oh, do it this way. No, we do it this way when I'm here. And, and sometimes it's a challenge to like step back and say, oh, okay, there, my husband's here. He's got it. My in-laws have got my baby. They're great. They're fine. My mom has them. Everything's fine. I'm not the only person who can do everything correctly. There's other ways to do stuff. So yeah, I've learned quite a bit about myself from having my son.
Yeah. I love that. But I always say that, our children really teach us. We teach them too, but I'm saying they really do teach us because they're able to bring up if you will, I'm going to say that's like the triggers or the things that would be most challenging to us. They are ever present before us when we're in a situation of raising children. Yes,
and actually, as you said that, I was reminded of something that happened yesterday.
Okay.
My son and I go to a music class, which is so awesome, and he loves it.
Mm-hmm.
The last one in particular, he was a little cranky. I think he was tired. Maybe he needed a snack. And he didn't want to dance. He wasn't into singing too much. And I kept asking him after class if he wanted to give the teacher a hug. And I kept asking him. And then I realized, and he's not doing it. He doesn't want to do this.
Right.
And then I realized, like after the fourth or fifth time, I'm like, why am I pushing this? He doesn't want to hug her. And that's fine. But I kept thinking, I want the teacher to like me.
Exactly. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with my son.
Yes. Isn't that amazing, the awareness we can have? We see.
I was like, all right, let me just pack up.
And love that he's okay. I love that example because you became aware. And that's like key. But also you, and I had this experience with my granddaughter too, in a little different situation, but similar in that. And I was explaining to my son-in-law, and you realize this, we have been conditioned to follow the lead of an adult, when we were growing up, of doing things that we didn't necessarily feel right doing at the time. And I believe that actually leaves us a little bit defenseless when it comes to standing up for ourselves as we get older. So I love that you allowed space for him to just be who he is. And if he's ready to give a hug, he will.
Right.
And if
Right.
it's not the right time, it's wonderful that he can just decide that that's not for him.
Yeah. And pushing him would be just, I don't think that it just no good.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, though, that requires trust. And it requires us stepping back and being okay, vulnerable again. That keeps coming up for us in this conversation of being vulnerable and saying, you know what, I don't need him to hug that teacher for me to feel loved, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's really great. And I'm so glad that's such a beautiful example to share, really. Because that's one of the things that I feel are strongly about. And I know raising my own kids, like I got to watch how they were when they didn't want to do things and how they were when they did. And it made me question, like what is really right here?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes it makes me uncomfortable. Like, oh, my son should be doing this, or he should be performing a certain way, or like, I can't think of another one, but sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And really, we want to encourage our children to learn to be in resonance with themselves, as well as those around them. And if if it doesn't feel appropriate, then it doesn't feel appropriate.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily make it wrong. He still, I'm sure, appreciates his teacher.
I think so.
Just doesn't want to hug her, that's all.
Right, exactly. Like, it's not a big deal.
What is the big deal, Mom? Okay. Oh, I love that. And really a gift you've shared by bringing that up. And so that brings me to another point, because we are talking about vulnerability and, the idea of, as a parent, we are in control, right? We are running the show and we do want to do our best, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like when we ask for help or when we, reach out to others in different ways, that somehow we're not enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I want to ask you this question about autonomy of a mom. Like, how important do you feel that is for you first and then your child?
Incredibly important.
Yeah.
Incredibly important. And okay, for me, it like fills my what's that saying? Fills my cup back up again. So so I help Ben all day. And that's wonderful. That also, it fills my cup in a certain way also, but it also, depletes, there are many cups apparently in my analogy here, but there's, it also depletes in another way. And to get the time to myself or remember the things that I like to do are really important. And they help refill that, that tank back up and that cup. And for my son, I just realized that for him to watch me be who I am and be my best self is incredibly, maybe even more important than what I do. I mean, it's important what I do for him, but for him to see how I behave as my best self is so important for him to pick up on and to see how my husband and I interact and how we treat each other and how I treat myself, or how I show emotions, or how I take care of, I don't know, certain situations. That's, if I get angry, or, how angry I'm getting, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, or how, if I'm upset, if I've cried, or if I've, something, it's important for him to see how I take care of it as myself.
Yeah.
Model for him.
Exactly.
To take care of myself. I don't want to download all this onto him.
Right. Spend the rest of our lives fixing it. No, but this is really a key piece to think about, because this can be very touchy for moms. We do part of it, the giving is fulfilling to us, and of course that's our role as a mother. When we wear that hat, that's part of what we agreed to. At the same time, it's kind of like there's more than one definition of love, and I think that all comes from wherever we come from. And so if giving till it hurts is our definition of love, we're going to hurt ourselves. But is that the definition of love? Or do we want our children to have a definition where it means, love others as you love yourself,
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's important. I want him to know too that it's extremely important to take care of yourself first, which is a hard thing to say because I feel selfish. I think that's like our knee-jerk reaction is, it's so selfish to take care of yourself first, but it's not. It
equips you to be able to take care of them well.
Right.
Yeah. And I love too that your what you brought out about your son and his ability to learn from you. No matter what you say, he's watching you more than anything else. And you can talk to your blue in the face, but but it's your energy, it's your beingness that he's observing, and that becomes something he learns from.
And that is both awesome and frightening at the same time.
Right. So it is awesome. And the frightening comes because it's a vulnerable position to be in. And that's why I champion mothers. Honestly, I do, because all of us come from all different kinds of backgrounds. And, so it's a little bit different for each of us. And yet, what we really want is to be there for our children and for them to grow up and be sustained in their life and contributors to community, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and happy.
Happy.
Yes. So let me ask you this. So you're writing this blog and you're doing a little tutoring and you're raising your son and your wife and daughter, I'm sure. So with all this going on, like, what do you see as a big picture going forward? Because I believe there's like a mama movement, for more awareness. And I see it because I talk to a lot of moms and I get to see, and I see the interest that there is in this. So tell me about that. What do you see?
I see that too, actually. I see a big movement towards more people paying attention. I just was thinking in my head, I don't know if it's just like what I pay attention to or if it's bigger than that, but I think it is growing. I think there is more awareness of moms in general and how our stories and how we feel as stay-at-home moms, as working moms, as all kinds. And it's I think it is getting bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. It is nice, isn't it?
It is. It's nice to see that there's less. I find that a lot of people like to tackle mom guilt a lot, and I really appreciate that. Yeah. And I think there's getting to be like more appreciation and more value to what we're doing.
Yeah. And I believe that among moms too. Like, when the movement was first starting, of course, the pendulum swings, I always say, right? Mm-hmm. So, you've got a situation, that we grew or our parents grew up in, right? For you're a young mom. And then so there's coming a shift of awareness, a shift of what, we're quote unquote doing or being as mothers. And there can be judgment. Right. Yeah. So it can kind of swing. So no, we're supposed to do it this way. No, we're supposed to do it that way. Well, finally, what I see is a pendulum coming more center where we just honor one another and really reach out in love for one another and support each other in the journey. And for some of us, that means adjustment. And that's really okay. That's part of it.
Yes. I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah. So, I like I said, I champion moms. As a mama for myself plus others, and I totally know the walk. But I even more, I made it a study, more or less, right, of raising children in a background different from where I came from. Losing some of the cultural things that have not been of service to us anymore. And need to be adjusted. So, Anyway, we're getting close to the end of our interview, but I so enjoyed talking with you.
That went really fast.
Yeah, I know, too fast. Is there anything you want to say about, is there anything before we leave, though, that you would like to share, maybe about your going back to work while you're still parenting a 2-year-old, or, anything you would like to share? Because we are talking on the topic of learning that self-love through motherhood. So what would you like to share?
That taking care of yourself is absolutely mandatory. And that doesn't just mean like taking a bubble bath, although those are awesome, but it means I don't want this to sound awful.
Okay.
Maybe not a time where you don't need to compromise what you're doing with your time. And that doesn't mean that compromising isn't a beautiful thing between like a parent and a child, or a husband and a wife, or a spouse. It just means taking that time to just absolutely what you want to do. It makes it so much better. And it feels like it cleanses yourself almost, like just to have that time. And going back to work on that one. I also consider that time to myself. I know that sounds bizarre, but I have an hour ride into work, and I use that time to listen to anything I want, the podcasts and, the music. And I don't zone out, because that would be irresponsible, but
Right.
just to clear my own head. And then when I'm at work, it's work and me. And that's very helpful too, that I know my son's taken care of, and just to have like those 2 days is nice. I can focus on myself and like what I'm doing. So it's not the worst thing in the world to work and be a mom.
Right. It's fulfilling for you. It's something you love doing.
Yeah.
And you're a mom, and your son is well cared for while you're gone. So,
right.
And now he gets to experience someone else. And that's really, it creates new awarenesses for him in other ways.
Yes. Not only my perspective. It's also good.
Yeah. And it gives you things to talk about as he gets older. Yeah. Yeah. Which is really cool. And just one quick thing before we do sign off, I want to ask you, do you ever, like, when you get time for yourself, do you ever like struggle with what you want to do?
Oh, all the time.
Okay. So how do you remedy that? Have you come up with this?
Oh, sorry. Yes, all the time. In fact, last night, that was a trouble of mine. Even writing is sometimes, oftentimes very challenging, even though it's awesome for me. I was writing about old TV shows last night. I had nothing to write about. And it was just coming out horribly. But yes, sometimes I feel overwhelmed by the things I could be doing, and like, oh, I have to maximize this time, and this has to be the perfect thing I'm doing at that time. And then I've jumped off the ship of self-care. It's like, that's not what's helping me. is to being this, perfectionist of my free time. So yeah, I get that. I do that all the time.
Yeah. I had that problem too. One of the things I used to do is, when I was busy doing things and wished I had time, I started jotting down a little list of things I would have loved to have done.
Yeah.
And this way, when the time did appear for me, or when I made that time, I had something to refer to.
Yes,
and that just helped me to feel really fulfilled when I when I was gone, and then coming back. And I found that coming back was awesome, because now I had these great things to share with the kids, like, it was just, yeah.
Yes, that feeling when you come back is it's surprising. It's like, oh, I'm back. My cup is full again. I can do this again.
Yeah. With your whole heart. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing yourself, for being vulnerable on this show, and for all that you write for moms. So, Angela, please share with everyone again where they can find you.
Sure. It's momscoffeeiscold.com. And this has been so wonderful talking with you.
Oh, well, we love having you here. And again, we were talking to Angela Swartz about learning self-love through motherhood. And I'm Laura Greco with SuperPower Mommas. And you've been listening here. And I just want to say this to mamas, love yourselves for the treasures that you are. Discover your superpowers and go out and be you. That's what your children want most. Love you all. Till next time.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.